呀，那2根啊。那不是刚才从哪里开始算？
Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. And on today's Panwo TV, I can tell you that I'm actually standing in the sexiest place in Oxford. Right here. And I'm not talking about that new strip joint that's just opened up on Cowley Road. No, I'm actually in Radcliffe Square. I'll just give you a bit more, show you a little bit more of this area here. That's it. Now this is what I've just shown you is kind of, it's very much, a lot of people call it the heart of Oxford. It's one of the sort of like central kind of Oxford places. I mean the architecture, the atmosphere, you know, it's very much sort of like quintessential to what Oxford is about and what it looks like and feels like. This is what you get on the postcards. I mean, millions of people have been here and they've showed you the place. I'm here for a different reason. Like I said, this is the sexiest place in Oxford. Right? I'm not kidding you. You know. The reason why is that? Well, it's all to do with occult symbolism. Now, I've spoken an awful lot about this. In fact, one of the earliest Panwo TV videos I did was on this subject, and I took you round a part of Temple Cowley, pointing out to you the various Knights Templar symbolism and things like that was there. What we have here, though, is it's form of symbolism you find not just in Oxford, but in many, many places around the world, and that's what's curious. The symbolism is sexual, and that's why I called this place the sexiest part of Oxford. The reason is to do with almost sort of Freudian type phallic symbol here. Now, if I show you, this here is St Mary's Tower. All right, it's the big tower at the top of St Mary's College. Now, there's a big clock up there. You can't see it very well. I'll try and get in the shade to show you a bit more, because at the moment the sun's blotting it out. So we've got a bit of a contrast problem in today's programme because it's a very bright sunny day. That is St Mary's Tower, and you can go in there and you can actually climb up there. There's some steps. You can go up there to the top and look out. Now, facing opposite from this St Mary's Tower is this Radcliffe Camera, which is a large dome-shaped building. As you see here, it's neoclassical in style, and but the point is, it's got this big dome here, you know, which you see in other things like St Paul's Cathedral. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. Now, the reason when I say sexual, and I talk about this being a sexy place, is that St Mary's Tower is a phallic symbol. I mean, it's very obvious. You see, it's a, you know, phallic. It's a penile object. I mean, it's rather like the obelisk of ancient Egypt. It is meant to symbolise male sexual energy for obvious reasons. So it's a very, very tall building. Yes, my eyes are watering, I must say. What you have on the other side is you have a dome. Now, a dome is the opposite. A dome symbolises female sexual energy. It's the dome shape is intended to sort of like it's a metaphor for the womb or vagina of a woman, and you see also things like arches and things like that. Arches and tunnels are also symbols of this female sexual energy. In other words, these it's a vague representation of the actual organs of reproduction, human organs of reproduction. And you may say that's, you know, you may think I'm jumping the gun a bit here, sort of like putting 2 and 2 together, making 5, whatever, because it's just, well, come on, it's just a tower and a dome. But the truth of the matter is, you see this combination in architectural styles everywhere. It's a very, very common they're a very common double act in architecture, and it's in fact one of the most common, and you could probably think of one. In fact, you all have seen one at some point. Now, another example, of course, is in Rome, because in Rome you find a large dome. This is the dome above St Peter's Basilica, and in the square in the Vatican City, in the big round, I forgot what they call it, the big round thing that looks like a key, there is an obelisk. Now, it's not just any obelisk, it's a original Egyptian obelisk, which is very, very old. It's rather like the Cleopatra's Needle that I showed you in London. It's actually far older than the city of Rome. It's very, very ancient indeed. So again, you have this double act, the phallic symbol and the vulvic symbol. Another example is in London. Now, I know they're a long way from each other, but you often see them together on postcards, and maybe that's a kind of... I'm surprised. I mean, maybe it's not a very good example because they're not too close together. That is Big Ben, the Tower of Westminster, the Palace of Westminster, and St Paul's Cathedral, which is a dome, very similar to what you see here. All right, now, probably the most famous example is probably in America, where you get a... Actually, there's a second set in London. I should point that out, because there's one. As I said, Big Ben and St Paul's is not a very good example because they're actually a long way from each other. You often see them on the skyline together in tourist shots, and maybe there's a reason for that as well. But if you go further east along the River Thames, you come to the old Docklands, and you see there a building called 1 Canada Place on Canary Wharf, and it's actually, this is a very, very interesting thing. It's huge. It's about 580 feet high, and for a while it was the tallest building in Britain. 580 feet. I mean, that is one big dick, I'll tell you. Yes, I feel really inadequate. But across the river from it, you get this big pointless thing that was built there a few years ago, which no one went to, and everyone said, well, why the hell did they build it? It's called the Millennium Dome. It was used in the Olympics, and it is a dome. So you get on the River Thames further east, you get this obelisk and dome. And as I was saying, the best example is probably Washington DC, where you get this combination again in the forms of the halls of Congress with a dome on top of it, which is actually modelled on St Peter's Basilica in Rome. Looks exactly the same. And of course, there's the famous Washington Monument. The Washington Monument is a 555 foot tall, it's almost as tall as the Canada Place, obelisk. It's actually the world's largest obelisk. I mean, I think whoever put it up there was probably compensating for something, you know. Whoever he was, trying to cover up for his own feelings of inadequacy, obviously. And of course, this is occult symbolism, like I was saying. And another interesting fact, actually, I should mention, is that 1 Canada Place, actually, it could be any shape, but it actually was built to resemble an obelisk, and there's several other buildings in that area that was actually obelisk shaped. And the funny thing about Canada Place is the top of the building has an obelisk, has a pyramid shape on the top of it, which is a 4-sided pyramid, just like the Egyptian ones, except it's sharper. If you look at it, people say, well, it's not an Egyptian pyramid, Ben, it's sharper, right? And it is. It's not an exact replica of the Egyptian pyramids, but the strange thing about it is there's a reason why it's sharper than the pyramids of Egypt, and that is that building's taller. Now, well, let me explain. If you sort of like draw a line from the point of the pyramid downwards along its edges, and you carry that line on down through the air imaginarily, it eventually hits the ground, and you do that to all 4 of them, and you have a square. Now that square is exactly the same size as the pyramids of Giza. Alright? The reason the pyramid on the top of the tower is sharper is because that building is taller. It's about 150 feet taller than the pyramids of Giza. So basically the pyramid on top has almost been adjusted. Maybe it's a coincidence, but if it wasn't, it's almost like it's been designed, adjusted in that sense. So what's it all about, you know? Well, I don't know who's behind it and why they do this, but the fact of the matter is, I don't know who makes the decisions to put these kind of shapes and symbols into architecture, but at some point, either consciously or subconsciously, they're either part of some conspiracy to do it, or they're doing it subconsciously for some reason. Architects are putting up buildings which have these kinds of shapes in them, have this kind of sexual imagery in them, and the reason is it produces energy. It produces... I think I'm going to go into this in my next Panmo radio program, actually, because I'm interviewing Andy Thomas. It produces... See, sexual energy is more than just... It's more than just sort of like thoughts and feelings in human heads. It actually is an energy. Now, as Wilhelm Reich called it, orgone energy. It has other names: chi energy, kundalini. But these shapes are designed to generate that, to be used in whatever purpose whoever put them into the architecture wants them for. And I don't know what that purpose is, and I don't know who did it, but obviously it is connected. I imagine it's connected into things such as the Freemasons, the Illuminati, the Knights Templar, people who had this ancient knowledge that has been kept from the rest of us, and they're using it for their own purposes. and we don't know about it. But we walk around cities with these shapes and symbols everywhere, and but we're oblivious to it. So, in summary, I'm actually standing in the middle of a massive occult interdimensional shag. I feel a bit embarrassed, actually. This is kind of like occult pornography here in Oxford. Yeah. Oh well. So I'll make some more videos about the symbolism in this city, because there's an awful lot of actually I can say about it. There's an awful lot of interesting stuff going on. But you get these all the time. You actually get things like obelisks, and some of them are original Egyptian obelisks in Paris as well. Paris is another good city where it is good for studying this occult symbolism. In Paris, you actually have it is basically the world's biggest Masonic lodge. Washington DC probably being the second biggest. You often see pictures of the Eiffel Tower, because the Eiffel Tower is phallic, or in the Place d'Etoile you have this huge obelisk with a golden top, you know, and it's often shown through the Arc you often get pictures of it with the Arc de Triomphe, which is an arch tunnel type structure, which of course is female, like I was explaining. So again, it's basically a sexual act in effigy. Strange world we live in. Thanks for watching Hupanwo TV. Hospital porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order.
And they just said, oh, it doesn't matter, but it does.
Yeah, no,
We're
it
trying to
does.
get a
No,
what?
no, it does.